Good morning. Hello, my dear students. Today I will tell you about the gaseous transport and control of respiration with respect to dissociation of oxy-hemoglobin. How the gaseous transport takes place between the blood capillaries and lungs is the whole story of this one. In gaseous transport, basically here we will take the two gases, the carbon dioxide and oxygen. In first lectures, you will see this is the outline of this lecture. In the gaseous transport, you will learn about the hemoglobin molecule and how the oxygen will be takes place and how the carbon dioxide will takes place and how the oxyhemoglobin molecules and how it will be dissociated and what are its dissociation curves and which are the factors. Ultimately, you will learn about that, how it will be controlled. This is a brief lecture for you. Now students, this is a hemoglobin molecule and this is an oligomeric protein, and this oligomeric protein has two alpha chains and two beta chains, and a prosthetic group ferrocyanins are present in the center of this one. Succinyl coenzyme is the precursor molecule which is responsible for its formation, and here you will see here this is a protein database structure of this one, this hemoglobin molecule. These are the alpha helical structures, these are the secondary structure of this protein, and these are the helical structures, and some beta plated structures are also present here also. Some motifs are also present here, super domains are also present, and these are the ferrocyanins. These are the ferrocyanins because ferrocyanins are compatible with this molecule. Now student, this is the most important respiratory pigments in case of in our body, which transport to our oxygen molecules. And if you see this structure of this one, there are four heme groups. Here present the four heme groups. This one, this one, this one, and this one. These are the four heme groups. This heme group, this is heme group, and this is heme group. This is beta chain 1, this is beta chain 2, this is beta alpha chain 2, and this is alpha chain 1. And each 4 firing rings, now each 4 firing rings, there are four firing rings are also present here also. This is the ferrocyanins present, this one. Yeah. Now students, you will see here that each molecules, each 4 firing rings binds with the oxygen molecule. Therefore, in hemoglobin molecule binds at a time 4 oxygen molecules. That means it will bind to the 8 atoms of the oxygen in single times. Now, these are some reactions with hemoglobin molecules. The hemoglobin molecule, the oxygen transport is done by this hemoglobin molecule. Approximately 97% oxygen has been transported through this process, and the rest 3% is through the partial pressure difference will diffuse the oxygen molecules. Now the question is, what is partial pressure? Partial pressure means the contribution of the oxygen molecules, contribution of the gaseous molecule in the atmosphere. Our barometric pressure is 760 mmHg. If you multiply this is 760 mg into the percentage of that gaseous molecule in the atmosphere, then you will find out the partial pressure of that one. In mountains, the barometric pressure is decreases. As a resultant, what will be happening? The partial pressure of the gaseous molecules will reduced. So ultimately, what will be happening if you go to the mountains, if you go to the Mount Everest, then there is very less partial pressure of oxygen. So that's why the diffusion process will not take place between the alveolus and capillaries. As a resultant, what will be happening? Mountain sickness and the apnea and other conditions also. Here is some oxidation and deoxygenation process. Oxidation means whenever the oxygen binds with hemoglobin, that is oxidation process. When it removes to the oxygen, then it is deoxygenation process. The both processes are simultaneously taking place depending upon the partial pressure nature of the oxygen molecules. In tissues, what will be happening? In tissues and blood capillaries, the oxygen process mostly takes place, but in alveolus and blood capillaries, it will take the oxygenation process. And sometimes this hemoglobin molecule also bind with the carbon dioxide, then it becomes the carb-amino hemoglobin formation, and it will also transport the 23% of the carbon dioxide through the blood. And this sometimes this when proton molecules bound with this hemoglobin molecule, then this hemoglobin molecule will become protonated hemoglobin. As a resultant, what will be happening? It will dissociate to this oxygen from the oxygenated hemoglobin molecules. So this is known as the Moore effect with the help of this protonated ions, because if the proton molecules proton molecule will become more, then what will be happening? The pH value less, and the shift will be, the carbon shift will right, and the unloading of oxygen will take place. Now this is carbon monoxide. Sometimes this hemoglobin molecule also bound with carbon monoxide. It has more affinity. Then it becomes the carboxyhemoglobin. This is toxic also. This hemoglobin molecule also bind with nitric oxide. Nitric oxide now is a vasodilator, and it is also present in brain. Sometimes this hemoglobin molecule, the ferrous ions of this hemoglobin molecule will oxidize in the form of ferric ions. Then it becomes the methemoglobin. This is also a toxic. Now these are the graphs. Here is the, this is the partial pressure. Tissue's partial pressure is 40 mmHg, and approximately 75% is the saturation percentage of this hemoglobin molecule. And this is the volume of unloaded volume, 15 to 20. This is the volume of in lungs. Here you will see, here there are some factors which responsible for this dissociation. One is the pH molecule. If pH molecule decreases, that means the hydrogen ion concentration will increase. When the pH will decrease, the binding curve will shift towards the right side, and more oxygen will be released. Here you will see here that this will be more released in 50%. Saturated percentage, you will see here 50 percentage. So here is this one. So now the partial pressure of oxygen is moved. And in the case of temperature also, when the temperature increased, then the unloading of oxygen will take place more, and the curve will shift towards the right side. This is also important. In the same case, in case of the 1,2,3 bisphosphate 2 bpg, 2,3 bpg, then this curve will also shift towards the right side, and more unloading of the oxygen will take place. This is the carbon dioxide transport. 7% carbon dioxide is transported through the process of diffusion. 23% is transported by binding with the hemoglobin molecules, and the rest is 70% is diffused through the chloride shift. This structure, I will just show you this structure. In case of this, in alveolus, this 7%, and when this hemoglobin molecule bind with this with the carboaminohemoglobin, this then 23% through this process transported, and rest is when this carbon dioxide molecule react with the water molecule, then it becomes the carbonic acid. This is a weak acid in the presence of an enzyme, that is carbonic anhydride. It is a very fast reaction, and this carbonic acid dissociated into protons and bicarbonate ions. Now these bicarbonate ions comes out in the blood plasma. In the same time, one chloride molecule enters inside this blood cells for maintaining the dynamics of the cell. That's why it is known as chloride shift or Humberger's phenomena also. Because here is a exchanger molecule is present in this, the plasma membrane of this one. This exchanger molecule is bicarbonate chloride ion channels, and by this process, this carbon dioxide will be removed through the body with the help of these bicarbonate ions, that is approximately 70%. This is a very beautiful diagrams. Now you will see here the respiratory process, how it will be regulated. In medulla, the bones vertebrae is the main structure which regulates this respiratory process. So here is the pons, that is some is the dorsal group of respiratory group neurons. Here is the some ventral group of neurons. These dorsal respiratory group of neurons regulates the inspiration process, and the ventral respiratory group of neurons regulates the either expiration or inspiration process. And you will see here that these are these respiratory group neurons will act the intercostal muscles, the dorsal external intercostal muscles and diaphragm, and the ventral respiratory groups regulates the accessory respiratory muscles as well as the intercostal muscles, as well as the pneumotaxic center. The pneumotaxic center is they limit the respiratory process. The pneumotaxic center. And regarding the apneustic center, this coordinated with this pneumotaxic center. This coordinated with the pneumotaxic centers. And sometimes the chemoreceptor mechanisms is also responsible for regulation of the uh, respiratory process. That is the proton science. When the proton science, the chemosensitive areas in the baroreceptors and chemosensitive areas, then they stimulate the higher center of the brains. That the higher center of the brains will send the signals to this pons ferropi. When the concentration of the ions will increases, and then through this process, these processes, that the respiratory process is regulated, either the neuroregulatory mechanisms or the uh, chemosensitive chemosensitive mechanisms, and both the coordination of the chemosensitive receptors as well as the neuroregulatory mechanisms will regulate the respiratory process. Now this is the whole story of this one, that whenever you learn about the gaseous transport, you should learn about the some laws. This is fixed laws. Fixed laws is the uh, diffusion is equal to d into a delta v upon d. Here is the d is the diffusion and a is the area, p is the partial pressure difference between those gases, and d is the distance between the capillaries. So through the Fick's law and Boyle's law, P inversely proportional upon volume. If pressure is more, the volume will be less. If volume more, pressure will be less. So you should learn to this diffusion process is also, as well as the respiratory pigment, that hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is also important. You should learn about the hemoglobin molecules, what is hemoglobin molecule, and how hemoglobin molecule works, and what is the significance of these hemoglobin molecules in the transport of carbon dioxide as well as the oxygen transport. Then it is very important for to you what is the Bohr effect. It's 1 mark question. And another is the chloride shift. Chloride shift is it also convergence phenomena? How the carbon dioxide will transport it through this chloride shift. Then you will learn about the how the whole process of respiratory process will be regulated. For further study, you should go for further study. You should go to the for further study For further study, you should go to the some books, that are best books for the biology by Johnson Ravi in one book. Another is the human physiology by Guyton and Hall, and as well as you should learn to the other books which are beneficial and for to you. For your queries and other things, you should post your queries in the comment box. Definitely, if I have it access, so I will just to um, conclude your solve your queries. Thank you very much, my dear students, and best luck for your examinations.